Want to go somewhere else today? Maybe do some hanging.
I just took an exam. Ooh, is that a quiche? Me too. Where did you come from? Oh, you were standing there. I'm stupid. Okay. I just took an exam that was worth 24%. What grade? You failed. What are you doing? A multiple choice was usually the essay. I didn't think that. Really? If I got all the multiple choice right and the essays wrong, I would get a C.
Yeah, but you would get at least all 56.
Yeah.
Like bumped up the test.
Yeah, it's this test.
Bumped up 10 points. Brought my class average up 5 points. So yeah, come on it.
It did what?
It bumped up my test grade up 10 points, which brought my class average up 5 points.
Wait, him changing the last question? Did nothing.
It did nothing for you? Because you got all that from
He was like, oh, sorry.
I didn't get all of them, so it did something for me. It's gonna be the orientation.
Oh, I guess maybe. That's a thing too. Just go to what is it? You got like a matcha green tea and Can I read it? finished, like, after Korea, I was like,
After they got the lead, after I got like 2 hours, I was like, you know what, there's no point in 5 minutes left.
I stopped watching when it was 12 to 2.
Humor is coming out.
I stopped watching after, like, Korea, like, went, and when he went out, I was like, that's it, we're done. But there's no good one coming out.
Like, can they still win the series? That's my question.
They lost both home games.
Yeah.
They have 3 away games.
Like, I don't keep up with it enough to know. Is there like are the Nationals out pitching?
They're not like.
Was it
I say as a dedicated fan, we go to Washington and just break some ankles. Like,
If it was
Actually, I just have to take them out, you know?
I accidentally threw my bat at the pitchers.
Yeah. I was just winning and just win. How one of our guys, like, do we really need Julie? You know, just make sure they take us back and go break some
I
ankles.
accidentally let go of my ice pick. Straight off.
I didn't see it coming.
Why did you have an ice pick on the field? Oh, I thought it was practice. It was gross.
Sorry.
Well, you should have been there, isn't it?
Astros hair program.
Have you seen the guy? Did you see the guy?
I'm upset.
And the Yankees slept. The Yankees.
It make me feel good.
It was so good. I was like, I'm not saying yeah, I get it, you know?
Even though I like my little show.
We were watching the game.
God, yikes.
What are they supposed to lose?
You know what? How much did you get with the way or the talk about the Astros? I got Simon to waste a lot of time talking about that and laugh.
As if we were going to talk about anything in class anyway.
We're talking about 360 per view.
So, you're gonna go home or
360
still waiting
feedback. You get feedback from everyone.
The
And
last.
it's good. Use it in business. Done. See, I gave a lecture. That's it. I gave a professor. I noticed some fancy makeup today.
I went to work.
Game day, son.
Game
day.
Also,
Oh, it was the best. Yeah, it's funny.
stop being a nerd.
As of 15 days ago, when
I showed shirt under my work shirt.
I'm 22. You don't look at
Damn, such a nice
I'm 22. I'm almost 22 and a half.
Just like Yankees wearing.
like, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's 22, 21.
You'll never be older. There'll always be someone at work that's going to call you off.
I feel like it's 25. Like, if someone's like,
Hey,
how old are you, Davis? Are you 25? I'd be like, oh, thank you, I'm flattered. But if I'm 25, people say, oh, are you 35?
Yeah. When people start saying, when are you going to start having kids? When people start actually asking you for those questions, you're just like,
My grandmother the other day, I don't know what was going on in her head, but she was like telling me what to do. I think it's because it's my birthday or something. Like she never does that. But she was like, Dave, let's go across the street. Dave, this like that. And I was like, Charlotte, I'm an adult. I don't.
On Tuesday, did they do presentations?
No.
that's like a technology.
Like, just throw it out there.
We honestly thank you for the shift. I forget how old I am. You always look at me like the most concerned on my face.
You're like, oh my god, is he gonna be okay?
It's really the whole very
I was like really hoping for that much only materials in it because
I'm pretty good right now. You pretty much peaked. It's downhill from here.
First of all, I've known something right after
Do you know how it's
first,
like,
that
we're supposed
first
to
2 months
double
after
dip for ERDs,
that's
you know
when
how
we
you do
actually
that? Cause like,
I left this on me like 2 hours ago and I didn't have it on. I left my camera so fresh and super concentrated.
Show you like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me, it's all about like,
no, for the,
well, I was there going to the time. It's just like,
where's the
I'm
spirit?
like, word. I would not
You still have your name tag and you put it up every day. So I was at my notebook and I definitely forget to take it out.
So I work like
I need to go to this one.
Yeah.
Someone else like take it outside.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's me.
Hello, it's me. I haven't thought about you in a long time. Right, didn't we do this last time? What's that song? Thought about, is it, oh, it's Adele? Oh.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. No, I was thinking there's another song way before you guys were born. Hello, by Todd Rundgren. Hello, it's me.
What about Hello
What is it?
Here Before?
Yeah, that one.
Anybody?
Yeah. That's the song. Lionel Richie? That's who it is. Yeah, you're right. I don't listen to Adele. Adele, I think, makes people jump off a cliff or kill themselves. Why? Wait, at least her first couple of songs, right? Hello. Yeah. Wow. Really, how bad can life be? Hold on, it's not that bad. Yeah, what do you guys listen to today?
That's sad. We're sad generation.
You're not a sad generation.
But I like that too.
You like that music? You like that teardrop music?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk.
Let's talk Astros.
We're not talking Astros. We've stopped talking about the Astros.
I need our professional advice.
We've already gotten it. He's like, I gave up after the 8-2. Astros have to be resilient. What we've been talking about.
Astros not really showing a high level of emotional intelligence.
They didn't in that 7th inning. I can tell the 8th inning. I can tell you that. They fell apart.
We can teach them.
Yeah, that's all right. Who likes the Astros?
Oh yeah, always.
All right, who does not care about baseball at all? Okay, we'll stop talking about it then. All right. That's only fair. Start talking about the Rockets.
I love the
You like the Rockets? I saw a piece the other day that said everybody's favoring the Lakers. Everybody that's betting is betting on the Lakers.
I heard
With LeBron and AD. Yeah.
I heard they just had like a bad game.
The Lakers, it's going to take them a while. I'm not that big of. I like LeBron James, but I'm not sure he's that good a player. I thought Kobe Bryant was better. I thought Michael Jordan was better. I thought Larry Bird was better. I thought Magic Johnson was better. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player. I just felt like the better one. Queenie, know anything about basketball? No. Alice, I swear I'm not going to recognize you with that blonde hair walking into my classroom. I don't know what to think, but it's pretty. But I have no idea who you are. All right, hey, here we are. I have no idea why this class is so unbalanced.
It's a Fertitta sign.
It's a Fertitta thing?
Yeah, you did this kid center. It's like,
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this and about that. Although I will say this about that book. Who came up with the title for that book?
What's the title?
Shut Up and Listen.
Tillman for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about.
Yeah, I mean, he has to have enough people around him that would say, dude,
That's good.
maybe Shut Up and Listen. That's not a good title.
Well, it's
It's-
so awkward.
yeah.
People try and talk about it.
Shut up and what?
Shut up and listen, and then everyone is kind of confused.
He-
And then they're like, oh, the title.
Yeah, what'd you think of the title, Quincy?
Oh, I hated it.
Yeah.
But it was very awkward because President Couture was giving a speech.
Yeah.
She said Tillman Fertitta's book, Shut Up and Listen.
Yeah.
It made it sound
Like she was saying, shut up and listen.
It was
You ever,
great.
Aaron, just because you have money, that doesn't mean you know what you're doing, number one, and it doesn't mean, just because something makes money doesn't make it the right thing to do. That's my perspective.
Although I do think
Money
it's
proof.
hilarious
Here we go.
that it made her say that in front of a group of people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Not quite as hilarious as Davis's face, but yeah, pretty funny.
wow.
Oh, David!
I mean, almost as funny as Professor Bart's lectures, am I right? I get a free one for that one.
You know what? That's very fair. I meant the face Davis made.
Okay, all right.
I can so see how you took that. My bad, as they would say, Davis.
Oh, man.
That was pretty funny. Now that I stopped and thought about it, I went, uh-oh. Yeah, that was okay, let's talk about something that transacted last class. You guys gave, I thought, a very constructive remarks about the exam. So we looked at the exam, Osese did, Osese went ahead and changed your points, right? And I'm good with that, with this caveat. I want everybody in this room to understand that when you go out and you go to work, real work, I'm not talking about waiting tables, I'm not talking, not that yeah, it's a real job, yeah, I've done it all, so I know.
How many guests I bring back?
Yeah, I understand. But I'm talking about you get out and you focus on your career, what you want to do. And look, if you want to be a professional server, that's one thing. But I'm talking, if you're looking for that career position, you need to understand that you don't get partial credit in those positions. You make a 100 or you make a 0. And you've got to get that before you get out of here. All right? Everybody? All right. So we're going to give you partial credit on that question, but that is the lesson I hope you walk away with. All right? All right. So today we need to talk about two things. 360-degree feedback, which I think is really crucial, and it's also important to talk about meetings. So they're two unrelated aspects, but they are two very important aspects that leaders need to understand why they're important and how they work and how to do them effectively. So let's start with 360 feedback. Somebody describe for us what it is. Samantha, too, you want to tell us? 360 feedback? No, is it on your computer? If not, close it.
Just getting feedback just from everybody.
Put that down.
Feedback from everybody.
It's just getting feedback from everybody. Can somebody take that a little deeper? Go ahead.
Getting feedback from your colleagues or sometimes even customers and acting on it.
Okay, getting the feedback and acting on it. That's important. That's an aspect of it that we're going to talk about, but let's keep talking about 360 feedback. What is it? Yes, sir, Mr. Chen.
From my understanding, 360 feedback allows other people to look in your life to see things that you can't see for yourself.
Yeah.
And so the people you want is the people above you, your peers, the people below you, customers, all around you, maybe even family members. And that way they can show you things that you are good at, that you're bad, what you need to work on, and suggestions you need to make so that you can become a better individual.
Excellent. Typically, feedback in any business goes from where to where? Top to bottom, one way. What do we call, how many degrees in a straight line? 180. How many degrees in a circle? 360 feedback. So exactly like you talked about. We're moving away from one-way type of feedback. Effective organizations are. And they're understanding that, hey, we can all learn from each other and we need different perspectives. How many of you have worked with people that didn't get it? And the people that don't get it that they don't get it. Right? Now, don't laugh too hard at that, because do we all have blind spots? All of us have blind spots. So remember, don't judge, but also remember that we all have blind spots. Now, is that a pin? Oh, I thought it was your AirPods. I thought you were listening to... Yeah, I thought it was good. All right. I think that... a couple of things, though. How many of you have participated in a 360 feedback process? Okay. Was it effective from your perspective?
Yes.
No. All right. Some saying no, some saying yes. Why was it effective?
So the 360 degree that we do, there's no name, there's no person, there's no way you can tell who it is.
Okay. Stop right there for just a second. Rule number 1. If I was going to take notes, this is the first thing I would write down about 360 feedback, is that it must be anonymous to be effective. If it's not anonymous, what are you going to end up with?
Salty people.
Well, you're going to get bias, you're not going to get the truth and accuracy. That's exactly right. Excellent. Keep going.
So because it's anonymous, it takes, just like you said, the biases and the defensiveness away. You get because at the end of the day, it's what people perceive that matters the most. You can have an intent, but if they perceive a different way, then it doesn't matter what your intent was. With that 360-degree review, it could say, this is how we feel, or your peers, this is how you perceive, this is how you let yourself, how you present yourself,
Right.
etc. These are things you can work on, whether you think you need to or not.
Yeah.
If other people around you think you need to, it's more about, hey, someone sees this, let me get better at this without knowing who it is.
And what has to get out of your way in order to do that?
Your pride.
Right.
Exactly. You've got to. And if you find people that are stubborn when everybody's telling them something different, this 360 perspective is telling them something, and they still won't shift, what does that tell you?
Find a different job.
They need to find a different job. There's a lack of emotional intelligence. The pride is really blocking their ability to get better. And you will run into people like that. But you are not going to be that person. Right?
Right.
Okay. Very good. Okay. You didn't like it.
I mean, it wasn't effective.
It was not effective. Can you tell us why, from your perspective, the process you went through was not effective? Was it anonymous?
Yeah.
Okay, it was anonymous.
It was a written survey,
Okay?
and it was a small franchise for a large company, and I guess all of the employees were hourly wage. They all had an hourly wage
Okay.
except the manager.
Right.
And our feedback was towards the manager.
Yeah.
And the people assessing it were the other assistant managers, which doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. So
No.
it just wasn't effective because I just ignored everything he said.
Okay.
To be honest.
That's the second rule you got to follow. If you are going to ask people for feedback, you have to give them feedback on the feedback. Do you get that? You have to take what you've learned and you have to share with the people that shared with you what you learned and what changes are going to be made. You have to do that. Because if you don't do that, are you going to participate again? You just thought it was a waste of time. Right. It has to be anonymous. The process has to be anonymous. And you have to deliver feedback on the feedback. And here's the final rule. And a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I'm absolutely convinced myself that this is the way to do it. Because we do these things all the time. And I've done them in lots of different businesses. 360-degree feedback can never be about getting a promotion or a raise or a formal evaluation of somebody. It needs to be done just to get better. Because if it's done because your job depends upon it or your promotion depends upon it, that can pull the rug out of the leader because they'll be afraid to hold people accountable, right? Do you see that? Because they'll be afraid they won't get good marks in the evaluation, right? You want honest, direct, constructive remarks. The only way to do that is to make the outcome for the person being reviewed to be neutral. This is just for you to get better. That's what good organizations do that really want to know what their people are thinking. That's how they do it. It's anonymous, neutral outcome, just to get better, and they give feedback on the feedback. And it might look something like this. It might look like, hey, I heard what you guys said. I appreciate it greatly. These are I realize that sometimes I talk to you in a short way, according to several people. I'm going to try to do better in the future with that. Yeah, I understand that you don't think I post the schedule early enough for you. I'm going to start doing that a week ahead of time, week further out than I have been, right? Whatever it is. Now, some people said we should do this, this, and this. A couple of these things we can't do because it's illegal or because company policy won't allow us. But at least they know what? That you thought about it, that you listened, that you considered it, right? And then you want to. That's the formula for effective 360 feedback. Now, let's take a few minutes and let's identify some questions that we, let's do it from two perspectives. Well, they might end up being the same, but what I'm looking for is I'm looking for questions, if you were the manager, that you would want to get the answer to from your employees and from your managers and from your whole team. Give me a question that you would want to hear a response to learn about. Everybody thinking? What do you got?
Am I communicating procedures effectively?
Okay. Do I communicate procedures effectively? Fair enough. Okay. Quincy, you had your hand up or no? Oh, I thought you did. Gunnar?
Am I giving you the proper tools and knowledge to complete the tasks that I'm assigning to you?
You can do it that way. Very good. Samantha, too?
2 questions. Am I a good role model and am I approachable?
Do we like those? Yeah. Is it important to be a good role model? Is it important to be approachable? Yeah. Is it important to effectively communicate procedures? Yeah. And is it important, Gunnar, what did you say? You said...
Proper training.
Training. Chopper training? How about over here? A question you would like to know the answer to. Huh? Do you have one?
Do you feel like being appreciated by what you bring to the organization?
I think that's a great question. Are you appreciated for the value that you bring to the organization? It's a very...
Do you feel like you are supported?
Okay. Yeah. Are you supportive? Very good. Yeah.
Am I handling conflict and issues in the workplace effectively?
That's a great one, right? Yeah. Because that's a skill set. And I've learned not many people do that well. How about you? Have you? Yeah. That's why you want to ask the question. You want to know. You've seen it. Yeah. Yes? Jen.
Do the employees feel like I'm putting them in the best situation to succeed?
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, and look, then I'd also ask some questions around the culture. All of these questions lend themselves toward culture, right? Because you're seeking out, all of you sound like you're looking for that positive support and coaching culture, and I commend you for that. But then I'd also want to ask about is, do you enjoy coming to work? Right? Do you know what our mission is? Things like that, right? Because that lets you know. Do you feel like our training program in the beginning prepared you for the job? And things like that. Little things that you can ask about to help you tweak it. When I evaluate you, is it fair? Right? Do you have sufficient direction and goals? Right? Okay. So things like that. Good luck, Eric. Whatever you got going on. That's it. Go. Take care of it. So anything like that can help, right? Okay, I'm going to shift gears for just one moment. We'll come back to this. But do you remember we were talking Tuesday about career fair? And you guys, I thought, had some great, insightful comments. First of all, I didn't get any emails. But I did mention, I forgot, right. The Astros were on, right? Yeah. But I did mention it to the Associate Dean, and she loves the idea of coming and hearing what you think. Because they're in one of their key initiatives going forward is to, if we need to be innovative about career fair, now's the time. So she would like to bring Gloria, who oversees the career fair, and she'll come in, and we'll just sit for about 30 minutes and do a little discussion. Is that something you'd like to devote some time to?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll set it up. I'll look at our schedule, I'll set it up, and I'll invite them, and we'll do it in the next couple of weeks if possible. All right. I appreciate your willingness to do that. I told her I felt like the level of this class you guys have been through. How many of you have been through at least 2 career fairs? How many have been through 3? 4? Okay, so you guys have good perspective on career fair, and I told her we had a very nice cross-section of students interested in different areas, so I think you guys would be a good audience to listen to. Okay, so just to recap real quick, 360-degree feedback. Does everybody understand what it is? Do you understand why we do it? All right. I gave you three ways that it has to be done, or three key criteria. Can you tell me what they are?
Yep.
One is it has to be
Anonymous.
Number two,
If you're gonna ask for feedback, you gotta give feedback.
feedback on the feedback. Number three,
And before production or money, just freaking better.
I call it neutral oriented or something like that. Yeah, you guys need to go to church more and be in the choir because you're not very good at synchronizing. All right, let's just shift gears. Let's shift gears. Let's shift gears. Wow, I got to be careful. You know, I've been teaching almost 30 years, 31, maybe 32 when you count tech, and I had never let fly an expletive. Right? Why? Why not? You should just do it. Well, that's last semester. I think we were talking and something happened, and I honestly didn't intend to do it, but it came out. The F word. You support it? You like it's freedom, right? It's freeing and do it. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not my style. But anyway, I was like, wow, and then I almost did it just now. Anyway, we're going to shift gears, and let's talk about meetings. And look, here's the thing: you have to realize that people's time is valuable. You have to do that. And if you want to create a culture of dignity and respect, you have to treat people's time valuably. So one of the ways you do that, just as an example, I still know people in this business that post the schedule for the coming week on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's stupid. I'm sorry.
It happens, but what does that tell your employees?
You don't care about their...
You don't care about them. You don't care anything about them. You don't care about their life. You don't care about anything. Don't be that leader. Right? Remind yourself frequently that your people have lives outside the workplace. And the better their lives go outside the workplace, the better employees they're going to be. So focus on that. Now, the other complaint that I hear all the time are meetings. Meetings, oh, that was a waste of time. Oh my gosh, it took too long. Oh my God. I've been hearing this my entire life. And it saddens me because there are just a couple of rules you need to follow so that your meeting will be effective and productive. And everybody in this room now, you know how to create a strategic plan, right? You create the plan, you organize the resources, you lead it, you facilitate it, and then you follow up, right? You measure your progress. Well, that's a meeting. What's the plan for the meeting? You have to have this. It's called an agenda. You don't have a meeting without an agenda. I don't walk into this classroom without objectives. They're laid out before the semester even begins for each and every class. Any meeting that you call, you have to have clear objectives, and then what do? Once you have your objectives, that's your plan, right? Then what do? You've already done it. You organize your resources. What are your resources? Your people, your time. You need a space to do it. You know the people that are going to come. You say, okay, Anderson, you're in charge. You're going to talk about this. Queenie, you're going to talk about this. Alice, I want you to chair the meeting so I can facilitate. You see how that works? That's what you do. And then you organize your time. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And look, you don't have to do things in 30-minute increments and hour increments. Things can get done in 2 minutes. Something that needs 2 minutes doesn't need 12 minutes. And the key to you running an effective meeting is keeping it on time. You say, thank you for that, and you go on down the road. Or you say, we're going to hold questions until the end. But you have to decide that. That doesn't mean a meeting can't be fun. It can be fun and still be on time. But don't tell people to show up and plan for an hour meeting if you've only got 15 minutes worth of stuff. Right? Don't do that. because you're just demonstrating to them that you don't have any respect for their time. You might as well show up late. Okay, an agenda. Manage your resources, lead the meeting. What's the last piece? Leading the meeting, facilitating the meeting. Enforcing the agenda, holding people accountable to the agenda. What else? What do you got to do then? What's the last piece? The measurement tool. What's the control aspect? Well, we've organized our time already before the meeting. We've done that, but what happens during the meeting? I might say, Davis, I need you to do this, right? Does Davis have a goal? That's right. And look, if you walk into a meeting with one of your superiors and they say, I want this done, whose job is it to get it done? They're not going to follow up with you. You need to follow up with them. Right? But I'll guarantee you, they got a note somewhere, and if you don't follow up timely, what are you going to hear? You're going to hear, where is this? This was supposed to be done 3 days ago. Right? So it's called action items. You always walk out of a meeting with action items. And they're goals and assignments for the people that were at the meeting. And they should be SMART goals. Before people walk away from the meeting, they should have a clear direction about what it is they're supposed to do and by when, and how they're supposed to do it. That's how you run an effective meeting. Now, if you're attending a meeting, what seat do you want?
Front center.
Which one?
Front center.
Front and center. It's kind of hard to say which chair because a lot of times it's an oval, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's a circle, sometimes it's a square. I'm going to encourage you to pick the chair where you can look everybody else in the eye. So if it's an oval or a rectangle and the chief is going to be down on one end, go take the seat on the other end. I'll guarantee you it'll be empty. Nobody else will take that seat. You go take that seat. Now that doesn't mean you have to say anything. It doesn't mean you have to add comments to everything. Matter of fact, I encourage you to speak rarely, but when you do, make sure it's a poignant comment. Make sure it's relevant to the conversation, and make sure you've thought it through. But don't be scared of speaking up either. You will a little bit in the beginning. But if you know something, or you have some expertise in something, then share it with the group. And if people and there's the key to your emotional intelligence, because this is where we falter the most, is when we're among people and we do something that might be embarrassing, or we do something that's not right, and we get called on it and everybody laughs at us. That's the time your emotional intelligence has to kick in. And you've got to laugh right along with them. And you've got to go, oh yeah, that was kind of funny, wasn't it? Yeah. You've got to do that. You can't get defensive. Do you see? That's why we spend time talking about emotional intelligence. Look, give yourself permission to make a mistake. Give yourself permission to do something silly and funny. It happens. It's okay. You will live. Yeah? And the sooner you learn to laugh at yourself, the easier your life is going to be. Matter of fact, I would suggest that to be much more peaceful and productive in your life, if you learn to laugh at yourself instead of laughing at other people, you'll have a much different outcome in your life that I think you'll appreciate a lot more. Doesn't mean you can't laugh when somebody's telling you something funny or something silly, but you guys grew up with like these shows called Jackass, where you laugh at somebody breaking their neck and things like that. I just don't find that funny. But you guys, I'm like, well, really? That's funny? I don't know. It's high-rated shows, but so is Worldwide Wrestling. Right?
No,
it's a high-rated show. And then we got Never mind. Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, all right, here we were. I was really getting to throw out some expletives there. All right. Expletives. You know what those are? Yes, okay.
Just the word expletives.
Yeah, expletives. Anyway, you're in college now. All right, meetings you've been to that were not effective. What was going on? Yes.
Everybody like literally, because we have the union, I don't know, but like sometimes like I just feel like the servers like just feel like some sort of like, I mean, I agree with the union, it's okay, but like sometimes I see how they defeat the managers. They like they manage the managers, you know, they control them. Like if a manager doesn't want to make a cut, like somebody will stand up for the other one and be like, why are you not making the cut? And you know, and to the managers. And at the meetings, I've noticed that it reflects that. Like they do that, like they all gang up on them. And like, yeah, they do have problems, but I don't know. I feel like I can't say anything constructive because they already say so much. I just don't even want to be a bother to the managers, you know?
Okay. How many of you have ever worked in a unionized property? Have you worked in a union property? Have you worked down there? Was it different?
To an extent, yeah.
That's it. I mean, how was it different to an extent? Was anybody else waiting for that, or was it just me?
Because like I feel like where I work, it was a really big company.
Okay.
So every time something happened or an issue happened, every person that was part of the union would come and just gather and just have a meeting. And I don't think it was very effective because
Right.
I mean I'm not part of it, and like
Okay.
I don't.
Were you on the management side?
No.
Is that why you weren't part of the union? No, you just...
Yeah, an employee, but I wasn't part of like.
You just didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still get all the benefits.
I didn't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
most of the time.
Okay, but it is unique, and if you go to work and it's a unionized property, it's going to be challenging. It's different because you have to share power. At the university, we have what's known as shared governance, where the administration has to run most things by the faculty. And I promise you, it is aggravating for the administration. And I say most things. But look, here's my belief. This is just a philosophy that I've developed over time. But if you show me a union, at some point in time, I'll show you abusive management. My experience is people don't want unions. They don't want to have to pay to be governed fairly. They just want to be governed fairly. I think I've told you guys I used to take students to Aruba. And we'd work for about 6 years we did that. We'd take 30 or 40 students down every summer. Yeah, no, we don't do it anymore, sorry. Yeah, right. Well, we had to stop. No, we stopped 3 years before Natalie Holloway. You guys, it just became dangerous. But every hotel on the island was unionized, except for one. It was the Hyatt Hotel. The guy that ran the Hyatt was voted the top Hyatt GM in their entire system like 3 or 4 years in a row. I think his name was Hubert Harry or something like that. But I would go over, and I got to know the head of the labor union down there. I remember his name, and this was 15. Anselmo Pontilius. Isn't that a great name? Anselmo. So Anselmo ran the union. Anselmo was one of the most powerful people in Aruba because he ran the labor union. And let me tell you why. There was a negative unemployment rate in Aruba. There were more jobs than people. They used to have to import labor from the Philippines. Yeah. Now, we'd sit down and talk. He'd go, I got to get the Hyatt unionized. I said, well, why? How come you haven't been able to do it? He goes, they don't want to unionize. And he said, why don't you go over there, because they don't know you, and ask them if they're open to a union. I said, sure, I'll be happy to. So I went over there. I was having dinner, and I ate, and I talked to some of the people, and I said, you guys interested in unions? I said, no way. I said, but you'll probably get better benefits, better treatment. He goes, no. He goes, they treat us very fairly here. They talk to us, they communicate with us, we know what's going on, they pay us fairly. We get paid already what the people over the unions are getting, and the union hotels are getting, and we're not having to pay to be in the union. They speak to us kindly and with respect. That's the formula, right? People don't just unionize just to unionize. They unionize because they're not being treated fairly. Now, learn this lesson. When we talk about the people not getting, people that don't get it that they don't get it. I speak to a lot of hotel groups. And these are all franchisees of the major brands, right? The Hiltons, the Marriotts, the Quintas, everything. And they always complain about what? Unions. They're constantly complaining about unions and organized labor and efforts to organize labor. What do every one of those franchisees belong to? What do they belong to? They belong to a franchisee organization. What is that? It's a union. What does a union do? It aggregates all the individuals so that they can collectively bargain. Do you see? It balances out the power. It's no longer Ford Motor Company just talking to Stephen Barr. It's Ford Motor Company talking to every single employee at one time that works there. You see the difference? If Ford Motor Company and I had a dispute, and my only thing that I had left was an ultimatum that I'm going to quit, what would Ford Motor Company say? See ya. Right? Yeah, that's what they would say. But if Ford Motor Company, we have a dispute with 150,000 of their workers, and they're all going to quit and shut down the plants, do you think Ford Motor Company is going to listen? And that's what happens. And so you aggregate and collectivize to bargain collectively because of the strength and the leverage that you bring. You get that? And that's an important concept, but it changes the dynamic dramatically in the workplace. So these hotel franchisees, though, they are complaining about unions. But why did these franchisees aggregate?
So they could collectively bargain.
They could collectively bargain with the franchisor, with Hilton or with Marriott, because they didn't feel like they were being treated fairly. Right? Hilton would wake up, somebody at Hilton would wake up in the morning and say, hey, we need to add a hot breakfast to every hotel. And then they'd send a memo, and franchisees had to start a hot breakfast. Well, man, if you're in the hotel business and you bought your hotel and it was doing fine without a hot breakfast, do you want to put one in? No, you don't want to do that. But you don't mind if it's well thought out. You don't mind if there's a consensus built around it among all the operators. But just for some person over in D.C. to say, hey, let's do this, and it's going to cost you $50,000 that year to start it up, you're not going to appreciate that, right? And if it's happening to you, it's happening to others, and finally you get together. So let that be a lesson to you that if your employees feel like they need to unionize, or your franchisees feel like they need to do that, you need to think a little differently. Now, I've seen situations and circumstances where a franchisee association and or a labor union can work very effectively with leadership and management. But it takes people with high levels of emotional intelligence in both of those parties to realize that we're all in this together and it's not us against them. Do you see the difference? That's what you're looking for. All right. What's the first thing you build for your meeting? An agenda. Right? Who do you organize? Resources. In this case, people, time, space. Got to have a place for the meeting. Right? What do you always walk away with from a meeting? Action items, and then you follow up on those action items. That's how you run a successful meeting, as long as you hold people accountable to the agenda. You'll go well. You'll never hold a bad meeting. Okay. How many of you are doing things differently in your life since you've thought about or learned about emotional intelligence? Are you? Good. Can you give me an example? Gunnar?
I am actively working on decreasing my road rage.
Good. Okay. Must have been at a pretty high level. Extremely high level. All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. That takes a lot of courage, but you found it to be helpful.
Yes.
Very good. And I'm sure the other people driving found it to be helpful too.
I am honking quite a bit less.
Honking quite a bit less. You know, seriously, where was I? I was someplace. I was in a car the other day in some city. Hold on. Where was I? I was in San Diego, California. And you know what? I was in an Uber. I was in a car with an Uber. And the driver said, where are you from? I said, Houston. And she went, oh my gosh, I could never live there. I said, why not? She goes, because everybody honks there all the time. And I thought, wait, don't people honk in San Diego? She goes, listen. And I'd never noticed it before. Nobody honks there. I'm not sure I've heard anybody ever honk. I've been going out there for 8 or 9 years. I don't think I've ever heard anybody honk. Except me. So good for you. Good for you, Davis.
I had a good opportunity to practice emotional intelligence the other day.
Yeah?
I was driving back into town from Huntsville,
Yeah.
and I was in the HOV, and I was in the part of the HOV that's like walled in for like miles.
Yeah.
So I was in the HOV.
You're in.
I pull up to this green Ford Escape.
You even remember the color and the make of the car. That's not a good sign.
Well, I can tell you, but let me tell you. So they're going 60 in the HOV on 45 going into Houston.
Are you supposed to go faster than that? Is that your point? Oh, everybody knows that but me? Okay, I'm never in the HOV lane.
Realistically,
Okay.
80, 85. So
Oh.
they're going 60, and when we come to any of these, like,
Yeah.
they might have never driven a car before.
They slow down. Yeah.
And they're going like 45
Yeah.
these intersections.
Yeah.
You do know that is actually the speed sign posting though.
There you go, Quincy. Tell them. Well, Quincy, you have a picture of your car?
I'm driving alone, right? I'm paying the like $2 toll because I don't have like someone else in my car. So
Yeah.
I'm paying a toll.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but
Oh.
you know, I'm driving, and people in the lane just normal 45 are cruising 85, 90, and I'm here in this green Ford Escape. The worst part was I had to, because like 45 lets out into downtown, right, and kind of go loop around to get back to campus. So I do that, and she's going the same way as me. We pull up to this light, and I look at her, and she gives me this look that was like a sneer.
Well, because you were riding her bumper the whole time? Yeah.
Absolutely was, because there was 10 people behind me. You're in the HOV, go fast. That's what it's for.
That is the point of the HOV. It's supposed to be.
And I thought, you know, I've got...
The HOV is to not have traffic. You what? You
I
thought?
thought, you know, I've got a high level of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I told job interviewers that, and,
Yeah.
and, you know, I like to talk about it. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Not a lot of
Yeah.
people know. I don't think I do.
Listen, if it makes you feel, I got to talk myself off the ledge all the time when I'm driving when people do things. It's just you're like, really? Did you just do that? But you just got to let it go. Don't take it personally, right? But let me tell you something that I think could help everybody. Not whether you're driving or whatever it is put things in context for yourself, right? And try to look at things in a different perspective. For instance, if you said to yourself, you know, you're like, this lady has never driven before, right? That's what you're thinking, right? Oh my gosh, you're going to drive it. Well, if that were your grandmother, who was 85 years old, and who was doing her best to navigate the roadway, would you be upset about that?
Yes.
No, you wouldn't, David. No, you wouldn't, because your grandmother would whoop you. That's why. No, you wouldn't either. You wouldn't do it. And let me give you a thought, brother. You're going to be old one day, and you're going to look 8 ways before you pull out into that intersection. And the young whippersnapper behind you is going to honk. And you're going to be 90 years old and you're going to turn around and flip him off and go, hey.
So I went through that thought process, right? I was like,
Good.
it's outside of my control.
That's right.
She is older, I can tell.
Good.
She's driving. But then I was still behind her for like 20 minutes. So I went back to the anger.
Yeah. Did it do you any good? It didn't do you any good. See, you could have been thinking about this class. You could have been thinking about effective meetings. You could have been thinking about the beer you had. You could have been thinking about why you went to Huntsville in the first place. Who does that?
You have to admit, taxi drivers are...
Wait, what now?
There are two breeds of taxi drivers.
Two breeds of hold on, I got to switch to. Two breeds of taxi drivers. Okay, this ought to be good.
They have to drive fast and they have to cut the lane. And there are those who never switch lanes no matter what.
Yeah, and they're slow. Yeah.
Those when you get two people on the road, guaranteed.
But here's the thing.
But craziest part, I gotta tell you, sorry, but so she's driving, right? She's going 60, right?
We're back to the same lane? Quincy, you sure you weren't driving this car?
Well, Quincy, when you do this, I can tell. There's this
I plead the fifth.
Motorcycles riding the HOV because it's much safer for freeway driving because it's free for them. And so there's this motorcycle, right? He wants to go because he's riding a motorcycle. He got places to be. And so he's kind of riding in the right median.
Doesn't everybody have a place to be?
Yeah, but this guy especially because he's passing
But if
cars.
you've got two wheels,
He's passing cars in the HOV.
Okay.
He's passing cars, and I'm like, well, that's really dangerous, but I'll get over and let you pass. And this lady in the Ford Escape sees him coming up on her. Scooch over to the...
You're not getting past me. Yeah.
For real.
All right, I'll guarantee you everybody's laughing, but there are people in this room that have done the exact same thing.
Trying to kill a motorcycle?
Yeah. Listen, you have to learn to put things in context, but that's a great example, I think. No, it's a really good example. We've all been there, and we've all struggled with it. But hold on, do you realize how important perspective is? Because here's the thing. If you're not in a hurry, do we really ever get upset when somebody's going slow? Not often, right? But if you're in a hurry, then what? Then you get that. Then you get so you have to realize where you are in your life at that time. Just because you are in a hurry, is everybody else in a hurry? Just because you get in that taxi and you're in a hurry, does that taxi driver need to speed and risk a ticket? No. Whose responsibility is to leave with plenty of time? Ours. And so you're getting upset and angry about that. Whose responsibility is it? It's ours. Right? If you go someplace and somebody charges you an unexpected amount, let's say you expected it to be $9 and they say this would be $22, and you're like, American dollars? You say, oh my God, that's crazy. But if you had all the money in the world, would that be a big deal? No, but if you're making $8 an hour, is a $12, whatever difference is that a lot? Yes, and so you have to realize perspective. But most importantly, is that you just have to look at yourself, and that's why we spend so much time on emotional intelligence talking about self-awareness. You guys may have been in the class a year or two ago when this happened in Houston. I want to run this past you because I think the lesson is so formidable. There was a girl, I think she was 13. I'm not going to get the facts exactly right, but bear with me. She was 13. And she sent some lewd, right? L-E-W-D, lewd pictures. Everybody understand that word? Yes. Lewd pictures of herself to her 14-year-old boyfriend. Okay. Now, you guys are like, big deal. I'm saying, for my generation, that's a big deal, right? We're all lucky we didn't have the internet. That's all my generation talks about. Is, man, aren't we glad we didn't have the internet? Yes. We'd be dead or in jail. But here's the thing, and here's the part that's so important. What is the first thing that 14-year-old boy did with those pictures?
Show his friends.
Okay, he didn't just show them, he sent it. All right, now, hold on. If you were a 14-year-old boy, gentlemen, and you didn't have the internet, what's the first thing you would have done with those pictures? You'd have showed them to somebody, right? Okay, so look. let's don't get, I don't want to get perverted, I'm talking about, but look, here's the thing. It's just a different medium, right? That just technology has enabled that. But here's the point. Listen, this is a crucial lesson. Her father, because obviously they found out about it, right? But her father went ballistic, which I get that. But why do parents typically get angry when their child does something wrong? Have you thought about that? It looks bad on them. They're embarrassed. They're humiliated. And so they react to that. Right? That's what's going on. This guy went ballistic, and he wanted this 14-year-old boy to be designated as a sex offender. That would have been with him for the rest of his life. And he did what everybody would have done. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's human behavior. Right? But here's the question. Somebody should have sat that father down and said, hey, if you really peel back the layers of this situation, who really has to take responsibility for this happening?
The dad.
The daughter.
Yeah.
Well, the daughter certainly, but who raised the daughter?
Who gave the 13-year-old a cell phone?
Well, but if you're going to give parents a cell phone, if you're going to give the kid a cell phone, look, that's the thing is though, she made a poor choice. Parents need to teach their children how to make good choices. You remember that when you become a parent. That's the best gift you can teach your children. It's not how to write a letter. It's not how to send a thank you note. It's how to make good choices. Because you're not always going to be there with them to make choices for them. The best thing a parent can do is let their children make choices when they're young and make poor choices, because they will. But you've got to be there for them, and you've got to catch them, and you've got to tell them it's okay, but you've got to talk to them about how we can make a different choice in the future, right? How would we go about doing that? But they have to be comfortable making their own choices. But a parent can't be on the phone every second of every day with their child and make choices for them. That's not healthy for the child. Do you get that? And I think that example, that fact situation I just shared with you is a perfect example of what happens. That father never once thought about his role in how that happened. It's like an employee in the workplace. I'll get to you in 1 second. It's like an employee in the workplace. We've talked about this. When an employee makes a mistake, it's just not the employee. Maybe we didn't hire the right person for the right job. Maybe we didn't train them properly. Maybe we haven't coached them properly. You have to accept some responsibility in that issue. Do you get that? All right, Samantha too.
I just remember all the time when I was little, my parents would always tell me, if I ever did something wrong, one of the first things they'd always tell me would be like, when you go out into the world, you're a representation of us, not only as people, but as parents. And don't you want to make us look like good parents? I was always like, yes, I do.
But it's hard. It's hard. Listen, I think it's right. One of the things we're never taught how to do is to parent. And I think it's much easier because you have Google, right? Google's probably parenting more children right now than anybody we've ever known. What? It's definitely not Yahoo. Oh, it's YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube.
YouTube, really?
Google owns YouTube, so it's bingo.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right, yeah, it's interesting. Are you guys following along? Anybody vote?
I can't come over. Yeah, I'm not in district. I'm not in.
No, you don't have, in Houston you don't have to be in a district. You can go anywhere to vote today in Houston.
Well, I'm in Missouri County.
Oh, okay.
I'm in Austin.
Yeah, but I hope you vote. And are any of you paying attention to the, listen. If you haven't been paying attention to the impeachment proceedings and the investigation that's going on in Washington, D.C., I encourage you to do so. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on if you have chosen a side. But this has only happened 3 times in our country's history. And yeah, well, this is a big deal. And I'd encourage you to spend some time understanding what's going on and why. And you may draw your own conclusions. And if you want to see something that's fascinating and that, well, I think will give you more insight into the process, is watch the movie All the President's Men. Have you heard of the movie?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. All the President's Men is a movie with Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. Those names mean anything to you? Oh, that hurts me. Well, they're both about 80, so it doesn't surprise me. Let's see. Dustin Hoffman played in Tootsie. Did you ever see Tootsie?
It's more relevant.
It's somewhat like Mrs. Doubtfire. He dressed up as a woman because he's going through a divorce. Anyway, Dustin Hoffman's one of the premier actors in the last 50 years. Robert Redford, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He played opposite Paul Newman. Never mind. All right. Anyway, they're the actors in the movie. This was during the Nixon impeachment process, and they were the journalists at the Washington Post that uncovered the story. This is where the whistleblower in that case, there's a whistleblower in this situation too. The anonymous whistleblower was a high-end person in the FBI, because we know now, because 50 years later, before he was dying, he shared with the country that he was the guy, and it was confirmed by the reporter. But they kept his identity secret that entire time because it was so dangerous. But they nicknamed him Deep Throat. That was the nickname that they had, because that was back in the day. That was that porn movie coming along. So they nicknamed it that. But listen, that's a fascinating story. Tricky Dick Nixon, yeah. Thanks, Quincy. Yeah, wasn't exactly.
These names don't age
Yeah,
well.
they didn't. That's a fair point. I hadn't thought about it that way. You got to connect those dots. But listen, if you want to, it's a fascinating story. And I encourage you to watch it, and I think it will give you a different perspective on what's going on today. I know you've all had your history classes, you've had your political science classes, but you need to recognize what's going on. This is your country. You've decided to be here. And you need to recognize what's going on. And you can draw your own conclusions, but if you're not engaged at all, you're missing out on one of what I think is going to be one of the greatest historical lessons you're ever going to have in your lifetime.
When's the last day to vote?
November 5th or 7th? 5th. But these votes are just, this is the local election. Yeah. Yeah, the next year will be the presidential and the senators and the statewide and the national election, 2020. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. And then I want to hear a little bit more, though, about emotional intelligence. Queenie, you had your hand raised. What have you been doing differently? For emotional intelligence? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody else. Samantha?
I just have been listening a lot more, just because, there are so many perspectives and, I've got a lot of things going on, and just more listening helps me to figure out more what the problem is, instead of like, you're doing this. It's more like, this is what we are not doing.
Yeah.
Just looking at it from a whole different perspective. That's pretty cool.
It changes your whole world because if you're listening, what are you not doing? You're not talking. Somebody said to me one time, I've never gotten in trouble for something I didn't say. It's valuable.
That's not true, though. I've gotten in trouble.
Oh, for something you didn't say.
Say, no, I didn't do that. You stand up for me.
Well, I think that's a good lesson, though, is learning to listen, and to learn to listen empathically will help you a lot. So I'm glad to hear you're listening. Who else? Yes?
I stopped giving people a reaction.
Good.
When you can tell that they want it, and now I see when people are giving me a reaction.
You say them. Yeah. But don't gloat in that.
Well, no.
Don't be happy about that. Just learn from it.
Yeah.
Go, oh, that could have been me.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Right? Yeah. Listen, you just want to give people grace, right? If you give people grace, the world is just going to be a different place, a better place. Davis, give that lady a little grace.
I gave her.
Was it this?
Somehow I don't think
It was actually a thumbs down, which is even more devastating.
Gladiator style.
Oh, and you made the face too.
Did you move your forehead?
I'm not sure she saw me moving my forehead. What? I must be dreaming.
How many of you get really frustrated when you want to flip somebody off or make a face or tell them something and then they don't look at you? They keep looking. And then
Actually, I've been doing that a lot lately. I'm just looking at my eye at the person and then just keeping my face forward. Don't give them the satisfaction of looking at me eye to eye. I have a very bad road rage.
Never pin you to
My
have
girlfriend
bad
drives me a lot.
rage, but
A lot,
I
a lot.
something every day.
you've had some of that?
No, I would never pin him to have.
Oh, Gunner to have bad road rage. Yeah.
It's where y'all make anger out of us.
Yeah, Gunner, you do seem to be just a very kind and nice person, so you get a little road rage.
I just, I'm driving like everyone else, and when someone comes in and fits in like a smart car gap with their lifted truck, I just get angry for some reason.
I get irrationally mad at lifted trucks.
Wait, what kind of trucks?
Lifted trucks?
Lifted truck. Oh, the big tall ones that you need a step ladder on to get into? Yeah, some things just ought to be against the law. All right.
One time you need those. Hurricane season.
Hurricane season?
Only time trucks like that are useful.
Okay, I have a quick question, and then we'll call it a day. But I only think about 3 of you were graduating? 3 of you are graduating? And do you have you got your job lined up?
I have an interview with Horseshoe Bay coming up.
Horseshoe Bay. That'll be fun, yeah, out over in the Austin area. Yeah, that's great, okay. Somebody else was over here, I think, that's graduating. Yeah, what are you going to be doing?
I'm looking at franchise opportunities.
Good for you. So you want to be the entrepreneurial sort. Very good. What's the common denominator of entrepreneurs?
Motivation.
Well, okay, that is the common denominator. That's definitely one for sure. What's another one? What? Perseverance. Money is another one. Very good. It's not quite the one I'm looking for, but those are all exactly right. But most entrepreneurs that I know have this issue of control. They like to get their way. Does that ring true? Yeah. And I've been an entrepreneur. I've got an older brother that's been an entrepreneur. He's tough. He called me not too long. He's been very successful, but he called me up and he says, I need to vent. I said, what's going on? He goes, well, this person did this, and this person did that, and this person did this, and this person. I said, who's the common denominator of all those situations? He hung up. He said, yeah, Gunner, take us home. We got to get out of here, man.
I feel like it'd be very interesting if your brother was a guest speaker for one of your classes.
Oh, my brother's a scream. He would make you laugh until you cry. Yeah, and that's just one. I got 3 altogether. Yeah. All right, guys, go Astros. We're going to do this?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. You guys go have fun.
What do you got?
Basketball, yeah, it's around the corner.
వాళ్ళు ఓకేనా ఇంకా నీకే తెలియాలి ఓకే